Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is R.S. Raghu and with me is Saira Mujtaba, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi says our country now fifth largest economy in the world, leaving behind UK, who ruled the nation for 250 years. Liz Truss elected as next Prime Minister of Britain, vows to deliver bold plan to cut taxes and grow UK economy. Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina arrives in New Delhi on a 4-day visit to India. Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh embarks on a 5-day visit to Mongolia and Japan. Indian Army Chief General Manoj Pandey conferred with honorary rank of General of Nepal Army. 2 Russian diplomats among several killed in blast outside country's embassy in Afghanistan. Kenya's Supreme Court upholds victory of William Ruto in presidential election. And in US Open tennis, Nick Kyrgiosstan's top seed Daniil Medvedev to sail into men's single quarterfinals. US Open. On Jabeur and Ayla Tomljanovic enters last 8 of women's singles. Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi on Monday said the country is now the 5th largest economy in the world, leaving behind UK, which ruled the nation for 250 years. Prime Minister Modi was speaking while interacting with the winners of National Teacher Awards 2022 at his residence in New Delhi on the occasion of Teachers' Day.
2 दिन पहले 250 साल तक जो हम पर राज करके गए, 250 साल उनको पीछे छोड़ करके हम दुनिया की इकोनॉमी में आगे निकल गए। 6 नंबर से 5 नंबर पर आने का जो आनंद होता है, उससे ज्यादा आनंद इसमें हुआ। 6 से 5 होते तो होता थोड़ा आनंद, लेकिन ये 5 स्पेशल है क्योंकि हमने उनको पीछे छोड़ा है। हमारे दिमाग में वो भाव बढ़ा है, वो तिरंगे वाला 15 अगस्त का। 15 अगस्त के तिरंगे का जो आंदोलन था, उसके प्रकाश में 5वां नंबर आया है और इसलिए उसके अंदर वो जिद भर गई है कि देखा मेरा तिरंगा और फहरा रहा। ये मिजाज बहुत आवश्यक, और इसलिए 1930 से 1942 तक देश का जो मूड था, देश के लिए जीने का, देश के लिए जूझने का और जरूरत पड़ी तो देश के लिए मरने का, आज वो मिजाज चाहिए। मैं मेरे देश को पीछे नहीं रहने। हजारों साल की गुलामी से बाहर निकले हैं, अब मौका है, हम रुकेंगे नहीं, हम चल पड़ेंगे।
During the interaction, Mr. Modi urged people of India to ignite the same spirit of living, toiling and die for the country as seen from 1930 to 1942 when every Indian was fighting the British for independence. India celebrated Teachers' Day on Monday. The day is celebrated on the birth anniversary of educationist and former President of India, Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan. On the occasion, Indian President Draupadi Murmu conferred the national awards to 46 elected teachers for the year 2022 in New Delhi. UK Foreign Minister Liz Truss was elected as the next Prime Minister of Britain and leader of the governing Conservative Party on Monday. With the win, she becomes the 3rd female Prime Minister of the United Kingdom after Theresa May and Margaret Thatcher. Liz defeated her rival former Finance Minister Rishi Sunak after over 6-week-long ruling campaign. The 2 contenders have gone through a postal ballot of all the Conservative members, numbering around 160,000. Tory electorate to replace the UK's outgoing Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Truss takes over at a time when the UK is saddled with rising inflation and its worst cost of living crisis. Soon after the announcement of her name, the incoming Prime Minister in her speech vowed to deliver a bold plan to cut taxes and grow Britain's economy.
Thank you for putting your faith in me to lead our great Conservative Party. And as your party leader, I intend to deliver what we promised those voters right across our great country. And my friends, we need to show that we will deliver over the next 2 years. I will deliver a bold plan to cut taxes and grow our economy. I will deliver on the energy crisis, dealing with people's energy bills, but also dealing with the long-term issues we have on energy supply. And I will deliver on the National Health Service. But we all will deliver for our country.
Boris Johnson was forced to announce his resignation in July this year after months of scandal. Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulated Liz Truss on being chosen to be the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. In a tweet, Mr. Modi said he is confident that under the leadership of Liz Truss, the India-UK Comprehensive Strategic Partnership will be further strengthened. Prime Minister also wished her for new role and responsibilities.
India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar called on Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina in New Delhi on Monday. Ms. Hasina reached New Delhi on Monday on a 4-day visit to India. During the visit, she will hold bilateral consultations with Prime Minister Narendra Modi tomorrow. She will also call on President Draupadi Murmu and Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar. The Bangladesh Prime Minister last visited New Delhi in October 2019. In today's Hotspot section, we have a discussion on India-Bangladesh relations on the upswing. In conversation are former diplomat Veena Sikri and journalist Nilova Roy Chaudhary.
Sheikh Hasina, Prime Minister of the People's Republic of Bangladesh, is paying a state visit to India from September the 5th to 8th September this year. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina last visited New Delhi in October 2019. India's relationship with Bangladesh, perhaps our closest neighbor, is very wide-ranging and, as befits two close neighbors, has entered a period of what has been referred to as the Sonali Adhyay or Golden Chapter, with constant bilateral engagement, including at the highest levels. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji also visited Bangladesh in the midst of the pandemic in March 2021 to celebrate 50 years of the Bangladesh-India diplomatic relationship and to pay homage to Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the father of that nation, whose birth centenary coincided with the golden jubilee of its freedom. India, in fact, marked that occasion on January 26th last year when, for the first time, 122-member Tri-Services contingent of the Bangladesh Armed Forces led the Indian Republic Day Parade. Ambassador Veena Sikri, who has herself served as India's High Commissioner to Bangladesh, joins us to provide an overview of the relationship and why Sheikh Hasina's India visit is important. In an interview to the Indian media, Sheikh Hasina has said that her priority during this visit is to ensure the development of the relationship for the benefit of the people of our countries. What are the specific areas that are being currently looked at?
This is indeed a very important visit that Sheikh Hasina is making, a state visit to India. Of course, she is visiting after 3 years, but as you have pointed out, in these 3 years, a lot has happened between India and Bangladesh, despite the fact of COVID. The most important, of course, was the visit in 2021, the Golden Jubilee of the Liberation War and the birth centenary of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujib, and of course, the Golden Jubilee of the diplomatic relations between India and Bangladesh. It is very significant that 50 years after 1971, in 2021, India and Bangladesh were shoulder to shoulder observing the Golden Jubilee of these very, very significant events. It was a message that was taken loud and clear by the people of India, by the people of Bangladesh, and by people all over the world. It is remarkable that the relationship between India and Bangladesh has consistently developed over the last 7 to 8 years through a very dynamic relationship full of trust between the leadership of India and Bangladesh, and also through a visionary approach on how the relationship should be developed. Number one, for the mutual benefit of both countries. Number two, in areas which are of mutual interest to both countries. And three, with a focus on the development, prosperity and stability of both countries. These broad parameters are very significant because all the areas that have been agreed upon, that have been implemented in the last many years, have this focus of work. So India has given very large amount of credit lines to Bangladesh, totaling huge number of about $8 billion, which is the largest ever given to any bilateral country. But the choice of what the credit lines will be used for is up to Bangladesh and is discussed between India and Bangladesh. So you have a lot of, for example, railway projects which come under these credit lines, because this is of great interest to Bangladesh to modernize and upgrade their railway system. And you also have a lot of connectivity projects that have come up between India and Bangladesh, which also are of direct benefit. Sometimes looks at connectivity in issues as being, it's written about, maybe this is only benefiting India, but not at all. It's a mutual benefit to both countries. So let me give you a very significant example that happened even during COVID, where the bridge over the River Feni was completed and inaugurated virtually by the Prime Ministers of India and Bangladesh. Now, the bridge over the River Feni, it's a fairly small river, it's a fairly small bridge, about just 2 kilometers long, but it connects the Indian state of Tripura and the entire northeast to a point in Bangladesh which is just 75 kilometers from Chittagong port. Now, it's remarkable that otherwise all these decades, for the northeastern states to reach a port, they had to come all around to Kolkata port, and then, took many days, took a lot of consumption of truck fuel, of logistics and so on. But now, through the bridge over the River Feni, this is a concrete, specific example, very recent, of projects which are directly beneficial to both countries.
In the interview that Sheikh Hasina has given today, she specifically mentioned connectivity and the fact that she's offered the use of Chittagong and Mongla ports to India and the neighboring countries of Bhutan and Nepal specifically, and how the first container left from India and reached Chittagong, cutting down the time of...
Yes. Within Bangladesh, the entire logistics movement is controlled by Bangladesh companies. You're absolutely right that the use of Chittagong and Mongla ports is now fully available to India, and even a standard operating procedure is also, I think it's been finalized now. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has offered the use of Chittagong Airport, of Dhaka Airport and select airports to the people of the Northeast, that they can come and fly abroad wherever they want to travel through these very important airports. And this is very convenient and very important for the people living in the Northeast, the people living in areas where, access to international flights may not be so easy. So this is where the mutual benefit comes in, because obviously there are Bangladesh Airlines, there are Bangladesh logistics facilities, Bangladesh internal shipping, waterways and so on. It's really a win-win situation for both countries. In this visit, as Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina visits, I think we're looking at the next stage. We're looking at the stage where we review what has happened and we look ahead to see what are the new mutually beneficial projects that can be looked at. And certainly trade is one of the most important in this area, and we are reading more and more about the possibility of a CEPA, Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement between India and Bangladesh. And Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has spoken about this also, said that this is under discussion, and there has been a recent report prepared jointly by an Indian think tank and a Bangladesh think tank on the possible outcomes of such a CEPA for both countries. And the conclusion very firmly is that this CEPA would be of great particular benefit to Bangladesh, and could increase their GDP growth by almost 2%. This is what the two governments will certainly be looking at, and they'll also be looking at other issues which have come up now in recent weeks with the changed geopolitical global situation, especially as an fallout of the events in Ukraine and Russia. Energy cooperation, that is now very, very important for both India and Bangladesh, and they're looking at perhaps India and Bangladesh cooperating so that Bangladesh can also receive some fuel supplies from Russia and so on. So there are areas of cooperation that they will be discussing, and I'm sure there'll be very important agreements on them as well.
The other area where the cooperation is expanding exponentially is also the defense cooperation and the security cooperation between the two countries. You agree? I mean, the aspects of that have, part of the whole line of credit has also been extended to offer defense hardware for India for Bangladesh.
Yes, that's right. $500 million has been reserved among the credit lines for this purpose. I'm sure this will also be discussed very seriously during the visit of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. And of course, we know that all this while Bangladesh has been primarily dependent on China for their equipment, and China is very reluctant to see any change in the situation. But I think perhaps Bangladesh is looking at it with fresh, open mind, and I'm sure it will be discussed, and there should be some outcome on this as well. See, the security cooperation has always been among the highest priority issues between India and Bangladesh, and I think that ever since Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina won her second round as Prime Minister in 2009, and now of course it's her fourth term as Prime Minister, she has always always followed a very positive approach, and she has said that there is nobody in Bangladesh who wants Indian insurgent groups on Bangladeshi soil, and they're fully willing to cooperate with the government of India on security matters. There is also, in addition to this presence of this issue concerning insurgent groups, there is also the very important issue in the security sector of border management between Bangladesh and India. We have a very long land border, and much of it is fenced, but there is the constant all kinds of illegal activity happening or threatening to happen along this border, which includes illegal smuggling of drugs, illegal smuggling of gold, human trafficking, even cattle smuggling, which has gone down now, but which at one time was a very, very high-risk activity, still indulged in by many people. So this creates a situation at the border which is very difficult, and the two border security forces, the BSF of India and the BGB border guards Bangladesh, they have worked out a very good coordinated border management procedure, a standard operating procedure, where if any incident happens, they immediately coordinate with each other and try to get to the bottom of it, and do not let it escalate beyond any minor issue. And this is very important because I know that from the Bangladesh media you can see that anything that happens at the border gets very high priority in the Bangladesh media, and they are very disturbed, especially people lose their lives, and we have to constantly explain the incidents which happen at night. Nobody knows even the nationality of the person of who is affected or who is involved. Sometimes they're Bangladeshi, sometimes they're Indian, sometimes they may be even third countries for all you know. So it's a very difficult situation. You need a lot of trust and cooperation between the two sides to make sure that all these incidents are managed very well and illegal activity is prevented to the maximum extent possible. And newer and newer technologies, cyber cooperation and so on come up to make sure that we are always one step ahead of those who want to use the border for illegal activity.
Talking of illegal activities, another thing that the Bangladesh Prime Minister mentioned in her interview was that the Rohingya issue, the fact that Bangladesh has taken in some 1.2 million Rohingya refugees, is now translating itself into a law and order situation also. And this is something she said that she would request India's assistance on, and maybe even hoping to jointly take it up perhaps with the United Nations. Is that a possibility, do you think?
This matter is already at the International Criminal Court, I think, because one of the countries of the OIC, Gambia, has taken it up there. There's already been an interim verdict, and Myanmar has been squarely blamed, but they have not accepted the verdict. The situation regarding the Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh has become very complex because even as we speak, there is a very strong hostile situation prevailing in Myanmar right now. There are active hostilities going on between the Myanmar army forces and the Arakan army, which is based in the state of Rakhine. And these hostilities are taking place very near the Myanmar-Bangladesh border. You have a situation where there's a danger, in fact, of even more refugees coming over. And Bangladesh has determined they will not accept any more refugees. So, there's great potential that if people try to come over and there's some attempt to stop them, there could be any kind of difficult situation at the border. Bangladesh and Myanmar did conclude in the very early days after the refugees came over in 2017, they did conclude an MOU on sending back, but somehow that could never be implemented. MOU is still there, and I think that there needs to be further dialogue to see how it can be implemented. But somehow even the people living in the camps did not want to implement it. So it's a very complex situation there. You're right that the situation within Bangladesh with the refugees is becoming more and more difficult. Very difficult to control their activities, to control illegal activities. At one time, education for the children had been started. Now that's been stopped.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Singh.
Thank you.
This is All India Radio giving you the world news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter @AIR News Alerts.
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has embarked on a 5-day visit to Mongolia and Japan. This is the first ever visit by an Indian Defence Minister to Mongolia. During the visit, Mr. Singh will hold bilateral talks with his Mongolian counterpart, Lieutenant General Sekhan Bayar. Mr. Singh will also call on President of Mongolia, U Hurulsek. The Indian Defence Minister will also visit Japan to engage with India's allies and partners. He will be attending the 2+2 ministerial level dialogue in Tokyo. Indian Army Chief General Manoj Pandey was conferred the honorary rank of General of Nepal Army by President of Nepal Vidya Devi Bhandari in a ceremony at her residence Sheetal Niwas in Kathmandu on Monday. The ceremony was a part of the unique tradition between the two armies. General Pandey is on a 4-day visit to Nepal from 5th to 8th of this month. This is his first visit to Nepal as Chief of Army Staff.
In Afghanistan, 2 Russian diplomats were killed along with several locals in an explosion outside the country's embassy in Kabul. The Russian Foreign Ministry said 2 employees of the diplomatic mission were killed, adding that there were casualties among Afghan citizens as well. The Afghan police earlier said a suicide bomber had detonated explosives near the entrance of the Russian embassy on Darul Aman Road in Kabul. Afghanistan's deputy spokesperson Bilal Karimi said the Taliban government is investigating the incident. At least 6 people were killed and 9 others were injured after an earthquake measuring 5.3 on the Richter scale hit several provinces of Afghanistan in the wee hours. Chinese President Xi Jinping has ordered an all-out rescue effort to minimize the casualties after a 6.8 magnitude earthquake jolted the country's Sichuan province on Monday. President Xi Jinping stressed that saving lives should be taken as the primary task. Kenya's Supreme Court on Monday, in a unanimous decision, upheld the election of William Ruto as president that took place on the 9th of August. A 7-member bench headed by Chief Justice Martha Koome, in a scathing judgment, swept aside opposition leader Raila Odinga's accusations of cheating during a televised ruling.
Over the past 75 years since independence, India's largest public service broadcaster, All India Radio, has been the proverbial storyteller for the 1.3 billion citizens across the country. All India Radio is celebrating 75 years of freedom with the series Azad Bharat Ki Baat Akashvani Ke Saath. It showcases the journey of India since independence in various walks of life through the storytelling of All India Radio.
आजाद भारत की बात आकाशवाणी के साथ, reliving the journey of India since independence over the last 75 years with All India Radio. From 15th August, the series is being broadcast on All India Radio, 100.1 FM Gold Channel, primetime news bulletins and across all its platforms. Tune in to stay updated with All India Radio.
In today's episode, we bring you the story of AIR News, a synonym for trust.
All India Radio, established in 1936, is the largest radio network in the world that broadcasts news and current affairs programs in 77 Indian and 12 foreign languages. Until the advent of television, All India Radio was the prime source of information and entertainment. Nothing can match up to the nostalgia All India Radio can evoke. Almost all of us love the signature Akashvani jingle at the break of dawn.
नमस्कार, आकाशवाणी से प्रस्तुत है समाचार प्रभात। समाचार सेवा प्रभाग प्रस्तुत करता है कार्यक्रम आज सवेरे। समाचार सेवा प्रभाग से प्रस्तुत है कार्यक्रम
ये आकाशवाणी है। कोविड-19 विशेष कार्यक्रम के अंतर्गत प्रस्तुत है कोरोना वायरस संक्रमण की वर्तमान स्थिति पर चर्चा।
This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight Now, we bring you a discussion on BRICS Summit 2021.
Good evening. This is All India Radio. I am VC Pramod and with me is Reshma Tiwari with the evening news.
Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio.
All India Radio has been broadcasting a coherent mix of news, music, drama, cricket commentaries and talks on current issues. Broadcasters like Melville De Mello enthrall listeners through the baritone.
This is Melville De Mello speaking to you from the ramparts of the Red Fort in New Delhi. Now, if rain is auspicious, then this nation is thrice blessed, because it's pouring heavily here, and below me is a sea of mushroom umbrellas, and on the ramparts themselves.
Devkinandan Pandey's voice was benchmark in Hindi diction.
1915 का वर्ष भारत के आजादी आंदोलन में बड़े महत्व का साल। अफ्रीका से गांधी जी लौटे और देखते ही देखते एक गुलाम देश के करोड़ों लोगों की आशा का केंद्र बन गए। वैसे तो लोग ये महसूस करने लगे थे कि आजादी का सूरज भले ही कुछ देर से निकले मगर निकलेगा जरूर, और उनके इस विश्वास का आधार था पहले विश्व युद्ध का परिणाम।
Veteran broadcaster Amin Saini mesmerized listeners with his voice.
अरे ये बहुत पुरानी बात है। मैं करीब 9 साल का था तब मेरे बड़े भाई मरहूम हमीद सायनी साहब, जो मेरे गुरु रहे हैं ब्रॉडकास्टिंग में, वो मुझे ऑल इंडिया रेडियो के बॉम्बे स्टेशन में ले गए थे। तो उन्होंने मुझे कहा कि तुम अपनी आवाज इसमें रिकॉर्ड करके खुद सुनो। वायर रिकॉर्डर पर रिकॉर्ड करके फिर मुझे अपनी आवाज सुनाई गई तो मैं चौंक पड़ा कि भाई ये मेरी आवाज है। तब से भाई मेरा नाता जुड़ गया।
When it comes to trust and authenticity, the news media industry, news network of All India Radio outshines one and all. AIR has been voted as the most trusted electronic media organization of the country by many agencies. According to a recent survey by Reuters Institution, in 46 countries, All India Radio and Doordarshan enjoy the highest trust. June 8, 2022 marked 86 years since AIR began its broadcasting operations. Since then, radio broadcast in a country has come through a long journey with hundreds of radio stations being established in several cities. Student-specific programs like Abhyas, Quiz on Freedom Movement and Sports Quiz have evinced interest among the new generation to consider AIR as a regular feature in the media diet. Further contributing to connecting J&K with the mainstream, a special segment Jammu Kashmir Ek Nayi Subha has been added to the already diverse bouquet of AIR programming. In order to reach out to the diaspora, AIR News has doubled the transmission in foreign languages, including in Dari, Pashto, Balochi, Nepali, Mandarin Chinese and Tibetan. Radio shows like World News Program with focus on Indian perspective became popular in a very short span of time. Apart from traditional and social media platforms, All India Radio is also available on DD Free Dish, DTH and DRM.
On to sports now. In US Open tennis, Australian maverick Nick Kyrgios defeated defending champion and top seed Daniil Medvedev to book his place in the quarterfinal of men's singles. In the women's singles, Tunisia's Ons Jabeur advanced to the quarterfinals for the first time with the win over Veronika Kudermetova. She will face unseeded Australian Ayla Tomljanovic, who entered the career of Serena Williams in the third round.
And now a quick look at the headlines once again. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi says our country now 5th largest economy in the world, leaving behind UK, who ruled the nation for 250 years. Liz Truss elected as next Prime Minister of Britain vows to deliver bold plan to cut taxes and grow UK economy. Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina arrives in New Delhi on a 4-day visit to India. Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh embarks on a 5-day visit to Mongolia and Japan. Indian Army Chief General Manoj Pandey conferred with honorary rank of General of Nepal Army. 2 Russian diplomats among several killed in blast outside country's embassy in Afghanistan. Kenya's Supreme Court upholds victory of William Ruto in presidential election. And in US Open tennis, Nick Kyrgios stuns top seed Daniil Medvedev to sail into men's single quarterfinals. Ons Jabeur and Ayla Tomljanovic enters last 8 of women's singles. And now, before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan Vaishnav Jan by artists from Brazil.
Vaishnav Jan to penekaye je piji parai janire pare duke upakare kare toye manabi mananire sakele lokma chonvande ninda nakare kenire vashkash mane nichelaki dane dane jane nitenire Vaishnava jana to tene kariye je tiji parai jani.
And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.